Happy New Year to everybody. It is the 2nd of January 2026 and I'm already eager to get out of my garden. So as always, I need to find something to distract myself. So I pulled out all my pretty pinks. I've got 4-ply yarn, my 3.5mm hook, my scissors, and as I am decorating my room, redecorating in a harem type Indian vibe theme, I've been making these pretty lotus flowers to go up on a canvas up on the wall. As always, I will be working in US terms. The ladies who were at my crochet class on Monday were asking how to do it. We didn't have time to do it in that class, and we are already doing a project at the moment. So I said I'd put up a short video on how to do these easy lotus flowers. The middle section is a bit fiddly, but the rest is quite easy. So as always, we are going to start with a slip knot on our hook, chain 5, and then we're going to slip stitch to that first chain we did to create a loop. Going to work 10 single crochets into that ring, working over our tail end so that we don't have to bother sewing those in later. This project is not going to be worn, it's not going to be pulled about, so I don't have to be too much of a stickler with sewing in my ends because they're not going to come out. So 10 single crochets into our ring, and then we're going to slip stitch to that first single crochet to complete round 1 with 10 single crochets. Now we won't be using that tail to pull it tightly, and we have worked it in, so I'm just going to snip that off now just to stop it getting in my way, because as I said, this internal bit is a little fiddly. We're now going to do a different stitch because we want to make it quite puffy in the middle. So we're going to chain 1, and we're actually going to half double crochet around those single crochets back into that ring. And we're going to do 16 half double crochets into that ring. But just so I don't lose the space, as they do get quite packed in, I'm just going to get a stitch marker and pop it in the top of that first half double so that I can find it again at the end. This is going to give that center of our flower that puffed, more 3D effect. Although you don't really see it, I do think it's just neater, looks nicer on the flower. So 16 half double crochets over those 10 single crochets directly back into that ring. Feel free to pause here if you want to catch up, and I'll meet you at the end with our 16th half double crochet. It does start to get quite tight around the 12th half double crochet, so you will need to just keep moving them along, and this is where the stitch marker really does come in, because you will find that you'll cover it up with your stitches. So we'll count back our 16. We're working in multiples of 8 because we're doing 8 petals, and we're just going to slip stitch into the top of that first half double crochet to finish round 2 with 16 stitches. Right, now for the fiddly bit, we're working on the internal bit that looks kind of like the stamen of the flower. So we're only working in the front loops of those half double crochets that we did for this section, as we'll be working in the back loops to continue the rest of the flower shortly. So I'm going to slip stitch into the front loop of the next crochet and chain 2 and slip stitch into the next one, chain 2, slip stitch into the front loop of the next one, chain 2, slip stitch into the front loop only of the next one, and we're going to continue this all the way around till we get back to where we started. So that's chain 2, slip stitch, front loop only, chain 2, slip stitch, front loop only, all the way around. So we're back at the beginning and we're going to slip stitch into where we joined the previous round, and that's left all those double crochet or all those back loops for us to work through. So we're going to chain 1 and go into the first of those 16 back loops, and we're going to do 2 half double crochets in every single back loop around. So we'll have 32 half double crochets in our third round. So if you want to pause here, and I'll meet you back at the end once we have our 32 half double crochets. Instead, we're working in multiples of 8 because each round is going to have 8 petals. So we're at the end and we are going to slip stitch into the first of those half double crochets, and we've finished the center now. So we're just going to snip our yarn, chain 1 and pull it through just to complete that. And then it is easier if we pull this through to the back so we can work. So we're just going to take that tail and we're going to pull it through to the back. We will tighten it up. Obviously you can just, stitch this in if you like at the end. However, I'm not a big fan of doing so. I prefer to hide my ends while I'm working. So we're now going to attach the colour for our internal petals, and I still work on that first stitch. It just helps me know where I am. So I'm going to work through and I'm just going to attach it with a slip knot, but then I am going to chain 1 and I'm going to single crochet back into the hole where I attached my yarn. And then for the first round of petals, we're going to chain 3, skip 1 stitch, and then we're going to single crochet into the next one. Now we're working through the entire stitch this time, not a back loop. And then chain 3, skip 1, and single crochet into the next loop. And as we had the 32 stitches, this will leave us with 16 chain 3 single crochets along. So again, feel free to pause here while you complete your 16 chain 3 single crochets, and I'll meet you at the end. So these chain 3 loops are our foundation for our petals. So we've got 16, and that will give us 8 petals on each row. So we're just going to slip stitch to that first single crochet, or try anyways, to complete that first round, and then chain 1. And because I don't like those ends, and as I said, this isn't going to be worn, so it's not going to be pulled and tugged at, so I'm not going to get all fiddly with sewing those ends in. I'm just going to tie these 2 together. Then I can just snip them off pretty close, not right at the knot, or it will just come undone, and we can work on our first round. So in that first chain 3 space, we're going to work 1 single crochet. Then into the next space, we're going to work 1 single crochet, 1 half double crochet, 1 double crochet, and then we're going to chain 3, and we're going to do a picot, but we're going to go under those 2 parts of that double crochet. And with a picot you'd normally work a slip stitch here, but we're actually going to work a single crochet. And the same again, 1 double crochet, well in reverse, 1 half double crochet, 1 single crochet, and that completes the first petal. Into the next chain 3 space with a single crochet. That's our first petal completed. So into the next one, single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, chain 3, but picot with a single crochet. So under those top 2, wrap, pull through, wrap and pull through, single crochet, double crochet, half double crochet, single crochet, and then into the next chain 3 with a single crochet. And we're going to repeat this 6 more times all the way around to give us 8 petals. So if you want to pause here, and then I will meet you at the end of our first round of petals. So we are just completing our final petal, our 8th petal of our first round. So we've done our picot, our double, our half double, single, and then we are going to slip stitch into that first single crochet that we did in the chain 3 space. We now want to be working in the back of the flower, so we're going to chain 2, which is going to help us get down to the back. I'm going to go just under that single crochet that we did for the chain 3 spaces with a single crochet. You do want to try get it under both of those threads, as it will secure it. We're then going to chain 4 now, and we're going to move on to the other side of that first petal, and we're going to do the same thing. So under those 2 stitches, though it can be a bit fiddly with the second one, for some reason they're a bit tight. So again, we're going to single crochet under that one, chain 4, and same again, single crochet under the next one. And we are literally just going to continue this process all the way along till again we have our 16 loops, but on our second round of petals there will be a chain 4 space in between. So again, if you'd like to pause here, complete all your chain 4 single crochets, and I'll meet you guys back at the end to work on round 2's petals. Finishing off our final chain 4, and we are going to slip stitch into that first single crochet we did behind the first petal of the previous round. So we're going to slip stitch in there. Now as we are behind the first petal, and we actually want to work on next petals in between the other petals, so we're going to chain 1, and we're going to single crochet into that first chain 4 space, which as I said is behind the petal from the previous round. And then the next chain 4 space is in between the 2 petals. So we're going to be working each of the next round's petals in between. So in that next chain 4 space, we're going to single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet. Now we're adding a second double crochet, and we're going to do our picot again, chain 3, again under those 2 stitches with a single crochet, 2 double crochets, half double crochet, and single crochet. So in the second round we're just adding another 2 double crochets, so single crochet in the next, then into the next, single crochet, half double, double crochet, second double crochet, chain 3, picot with a single crochet, then 2 double crochets, half double crochet, and single crochet. And then again into the next chain 3 space, single crochet, and continue working this all the way around until you've got your 8 petals, and I'll see you guys at the end if you just want to pause it here quickly. So in essence, we are literally just adding 1 more chain per each new round of petals, and then we're adding another 2 stitches in the center. So for the second round, we've used 2 double crochets in the center, and then we would build it up to 2 double crochets and a treble crochet, or technically treble crochet, picot, another treble crochet, and continue that way around. But we've just finished and slip stitched to that first single crochet. Now you could stick with this color now if you wanted to, but I like to make the outer petals a different color or a darker color. So I'm going to slip my yarn, chain 1 and pull through to complete. And then for sake of ease, I am, because as I've said, I don't like sewing in the ends, I'm just going to go under the back of this petal and just pull my yarn through there just to secure it and get it out the way, so then I can cut it and get started on my next round of petals. Now for the wall hanging I will have them of different sizes, so I will leave a couple just this small. But for this one, for the sake of showing you guys, I am going to add the next color. So where we single crocheted that previous row of chain 4 spaces, we're going to go at the start of one of the previous petals, because we always want to be working behind the first petal. So we're just going to join our yarn to that first petal with a single crochet, and then we are going to chain 5 this time and move over to that next space. Now it does start getting a little fiddly at this point, but we're going to single crochet under that next space, chain 5 again, single crochet under that next space. Again, just basically repeating what we did in the first 2 rounds, just increasing our chains from 3 to 4 to 5 on this one, and just work all the way around doing those chain 5 single crochets until you get to the end. Pause and I'll meet you there so we can work on our next row of petals. So we're working our way back to the beginning, and we're just going to slip stitch where we attached our yarn and then chain 1. And again, because we're behind that first petal, we're going to do single crochet in that first chain, and then we're going to move over to the next chain 5, which will be between the 2 petals, and we're going to do a single crochet, a half double crochet, a double crochet, second double crochet, and now we're adding a treble, so we're wrapping twice. So 1 treble crochet, and then I'll just snip that yarn to get it out of my way because I did work it into this petal. Chain 3, do our single crochet picot, another treble crochet, if I can keep hold of it, treble crochet, 2 double crochets, half double crochet, single crochet, and then single crochet into the next chain 5 space. And that's our first petal. Again, into the next one, single crochet, half double crochet, 2 double crochets, treble crochet, 6, treble crochet, chain 3, single crochet picot, treble crochet, 2 doubles, half double, and a single. And we're literally just again continuing this process all the way around for our 8 larger external petals. So again, if you'd like to pause here, I will meet you back at the end. Okay, again, we're coming to the end, and we are just going to slip stitch to that first single crochet to complete. Now I've just slip stitched to join. If you wanted to continue, you chain 3 and go down to that next space, single crochet, And now we'd be working a chain of 6 along and adding 2 more treble crochets in the center. And you could, in theory, make this as big as you wanted. Like this one has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of petals. So the first row would be the chain 3, then chain 4, chain 5, chain 6, and then the larger ones are chain 7. So we would then build up. So once we've got 2 treble crochets in the center, the next row, well, 4 treble crochets technically, separated by a chain 3 picot. We then do a double treble picot, double treble, and continue on 2 on the next row, 2 on the next row. So you could, in theory, make it as big as you wanted. But the basic process, I think this explains it well enough that I don't need to continue. I will be adding pictures of the finished tapestry, really is the only word that I can think to describe it. It's just a bit of fabric that I will be attaching all of these flowers to be a backdrop or a curtain. I haven't yet decided. It might just cover where my clothes are or could go on my window. Yet to decide. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, found it useful. Sorry the snippets were so short and any sniffing. I am suffering in this January weather now that we've had our snow. If you did like the video, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys back for some more videos. Bye.